I'm trying to capture your attention is, can you imagine how difficult it is for a child to get your attention? Can you imagine how difficult it is for a woman or even a man, because men go through domestic violence, to get your attention? So please do, I'm asking you to spend this moment, okay, with all the speakers, to listen, because it could be an opportunity for you to be that lifeline for someone else. Now, the story I'm about to share, I'm going to keep on coming in with this one line. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. Do you hear that? And I'm also going to be mindful about what I share because there are children in the room. So I'm not going to go into details, but my book is explicit. My book will take you through the actual incidences as it happens, without taking out the airy-berry bits that make you think, oh, was she abused? It takes you there. But also what it does is it gets you to the end where you have to now embrace the healing that I went through, okay? And the reason I say that is many people who have gone through abuse actually is frightened of healing. They're almost attracted to going back into the same situations and receiving the same responses because they're too frightened to heal. It's almost the devil you know and the devil you don't. Okay, so as a child, my journey is at the age of 8, I was abused by my mother's then boyfriend. Now, it actually happened at a time when she left the house to go to the laundrette, and he took that opportunity to abuse the child. Now, you would never believe he was an abuser because he was a really doting partner. And he always had to say lovely things about my mum's children, like, you've got such wonderful children, very well behaved. So I remember that day when my mum went to the laundrette, she said to me, when I go out, okay, make sure I don't come back and you're still up, make sure you're in bed. I was age 8. After I was abused that evening and she came back from the laundrette, okay, I can't tell you the abuse, but I'll tell you, chapter 1 takes you straight there, all right? I think it's probably on the first to second page, it takes you straight there. The rest of the abuse takes you straight there. I can't tell you the abuse because there is children in the house, I'm very mindful, okay? So, and it's something that you will then take yourself as the adult and think, oh my gosh, I want to save this 8-year-old child. Now, once the abuse happened and my mum got back in, do you know, my mum beat me for being out of bed. So I didn't have the opportunity to tell her what had happened. Now, as I tell my story, I always have to say to people, I come from the most loving family. My family isn't a dysfunctional family. And that's why they miss the signs as well. Because they're so big, we also foster in our family. There's lots and lots of children in our family. There's lots of adults. There's lots of extensions. And we're all happy-go-lucky. But they missed all the signs of my upbringing and my behaviour, my attitude, lots of different things, depression. They missed all the signs. So that was at age 8. At age 9, I was abused by cousin number 1. Cousin number 1, who was only a few years older than me, so I actually kind of have to hold that he was a child himself, exploring his sexuality. However, what I don't excuse is he got caught by his mum, who beat him and told me to say nothing. That was cousin number 1. Abuse number 3 happened when I was nearly 11. And that was by a foster child. Now, back in those days, you could foster children, and we didn't have the Child Care Act, 1989, when it came in. So you could put a child in the bed with another child, okay? However, every time they put me in the bed with this particular child, that child, which was a girl, abused me every single night. And the only time I ever got grace from that particular child is when and she was the foster child of my gran, who was alive then. And every time we came down to stay at our gran's house, she would then be put into my aunt's room, and we would, do you know them fold-up beds? Do you remember them? Right, that shows your age. right, we would put at the end of that, in the room, on the fold-up bed, and I would have to sleep on that bed with her. The only time I ever got grace is when my aunt came to the bedroom first to sleep. That's the only time she wouldn't abuse me. That was abuse number 3. Abuse number 4 happened by cousin number 2. Cousin number 2 abused me, and this is where I say he took my virginity until, from age 14, I was raped, until I was nearly 21 years old. Okay? That's cousin number 2. The difference is, in a lot of families, we have favouritisms. And if I had told my family about this particular cousin at the time, they wouldn't believe me, because he was a favourite. And favouritisms are usually the eldest members of the family, whether you're a girl or a boy, or the baby of the lot. I was like child number 2 in my family. So I was unable to tell my family about the abuse that was happening there. By the time I was 16, I had suffered depression, I had an eating disorder, I was very suicidal, even acted out in school, in terms of, I won't go into details. I used to still prescribe tablets for migraine, so I had an addiction to those. And I was really acting out, I needed help. I was told that I was behaving in a way because I missed my dad, and no one ever asked me. I was told that, sometimes I like to play up because it was, envy against the elders and all different things, but it was never a chance where an adult came to ask me what had happened. So, this didn't give me a great start to start identifying relationships as I got older, and I had a lot of lack of self-worth about myself. However, I managed to embrace a couple of adult relationships and walked into 2 domestic violent relationships. The first one, I'm going to very much keep that short. That was more mental, where someone plays with your mind. You can say that this you can say that this book is blue, and they would actually make me believe it was red. Yeah? I'd use the computer. Sorry guys, could you go down the other end please? Thank you. You could actually, I'd use a computer, and they made me believe that they could track everything that I could do on the computer. I mean, they played with my mind. The other one, in terms of that one, I believed I was dating someone from my own culture, in terms of from Barbados, etc. And believe them, it didn't matter, because I'd fallen in love with this person. To find out when, I've had a child for this person, years later, he's actually from an African culture. Yeah? So he actually wore more emblems from my own culture than he did from his own, until I had to meet his parents, and you're not from Barbados, right? Which wasn't an issue, but it was like lies and everything else. The other abuse became an issue. I'll give you one example out of that. When I was pregnant, 5 months pregnant, got head-butted, knocked out and kicked to wake up. So that was the type of relationships I had embraced. Got to age 40, because I'm going to speed this up. Got to age 40, exhausted emotionally, psychologically, etc. But I also hid behind my profession. Because my profession for the last 30 odd years is I've worked with young people. I've worked with vulnerable young people who have been abused, and I've worked with women. And I hid behind being professional in what I do, loving what I do, and that being my all in all, giving back what I do. When I got 40, I was so exhausted, mentally, emotionally, I had a breakdown and decided I needed to heal. I needed to take the same healing pill I was given with everyone else and use it on myself. And 10 years on, it's something you still do. But 10 years on, I'm a totally different person. I've learned my values. Because if you don't understand what values you have, what's important in your life, you're going to be dictated by someone else's who actually doesn't know what's important in their life, but they're more verbal. I actually know what boundaries I have in my life. Yeah? I know what adds values in my life, and I know how I add value to other people's lives. I know how and who celebrates me like I celebrate them. You celebrate your friends, easy. The person you're with should be celebrating you just as easy as you do, and it's forthcoming with your friends. I know, and I'm going to actually introduce, this is my husband, Maurice. He celebrates me. He celebrates me. He celebrates me. He celebrates me. And I can stand here with a mic and say, Billy, that man celebrates me. You know, he can come out and he can support what I do, how I do it, because he celebrates me, the person that I am. I don't need to change. Yeah? And believe me, I'm a very misbehaving person. You know? But it's important to have around you the people who celebrate you for who you are. If your gut is telling you you're uncomfortable, there's something wrong. If you're in a space where you believe, you know, ooh, I'm not sure about that. Ooh, you sure? Did that really happen? You know what? It did. Yeah? Someone doesn't have to take your mind. Hold on to it. Invest in yourself. Careful what you feed your mind. If people aren't uplifting you, they shouldn't be around you. My one thing I always say to my children is, you're brought in the world to lift people up. Yes. Lift them up, not drop to their level. So someone who wants you to drop to their level shouldn't be in your vicinity. They shouldn't even be in your life. Amen. Okay? I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you. Please do come over, have a talk, even if you don't want to buy the book, but if you do, I will sign it with love, okay?